Okay. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah amma ba'd. So tonight, inshallah, we're going to do another small surah. And I hope some of these you already know or memorize. So what we're going to do is try and put some meanings to the surahs you've been memorizing. So tonight we'll talk about Surat Qureish. Anyone familiar with Surat Qureish? Show of hands. How many memorize Surat Qureish? Come on, don't be shy. Talal, you memorize Surat Qureish?
Yeah.
How does it start? Excellent. Very good. Yeah. Well, according to some scholars, the Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is not part of the surah. It is in between surahs, to separate the surahs. So anyway, it's a very small chapter. It's only 4 ayat, 4 verses. And as we know, Quraysh is what? What is Quraysh? It's a name of a tribe. Excellent. So this is actually the tribe of the Prophet ﷺ, right? So in the city of Mecca, at the time of the Prophet, the main tribe was the tribe of Quraysh. And it is said that this is a name of a forefather. So one of the forefathers of the Meccan people, his name was Quraysh. And if you dig in the Arabic a little bit, which I know some of you may not even know, but it's always fun to mention as an anecdote, Quraysh actually is the little form of Qarsh or Qirsh, which means if you know Arabic, you know what Qirsh is? Yeah, not Kirsh. Stay away from Kirsh. Kirsh means belly, but that's not what we're talking about. Exactly, it is a shark. So Qirsh is a shark, and Quraysh is little shark. So his name was Little Shark. At least his nickname. His real name, I think, was Fihr. He's one of the forefathers of the Arabs. But his nickname was Little Shark, or Quraysh. So now you know what Quraysh is. All right. So this was a tribe of the Prophet ﷺ. Okay? So what it says here and the way it starts, and I always want you to pay attention to the wordings of the Quran. Remember when we talk about Surah Al-Kathir, and we talked about the fact that it is not necessarily wanting to multiply, but it is the distraction. Al-Hakum. Remember the discussion about Al-Hakum? Similarly, what you're going to see here is something, kind of similar. Here the Quran is talking about and focusing on this thing about ilaf. And ilaf is whenever we get used to something, whenever we get accustomed to something, especially when it comes to the blessings and the bounties of God upon us. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding the tribe of Quraysh the fact that you guys are used to these bounties. And He's going to tell us what these bounties are, what these blessings are. But the way the surah starts, I'm a little disappointed. I want one of you to migrate over there. See that place? Well, you're the lead, but fine, that's fine. You're going to follow him if you speak. How about that? Thank you. Right. Where was I? See, I'm easily distracted.
You weren't what you're used to.
Exactly. So ilaf means what I'm used to, what you are used to. Now, any one of us in our daily life, we are accustomed, we are used to certain things. So you might have a ritual. You wake up in the morning, you do certain things. You might grab a breakfast, you have cereal, you might make a coffee if you're a bit older. We are accustomed to certain things. And we would never let these things go. This is why we are addicted to them. That's what addiction is. Now, you may not call it addiction because some people say, well, addiction is only when you smoke or you drink or something like that. No. Addiction is anything you cannot let go. You're willing to kill for it. You're willing to sacrifice everything for it. So this is ilaf, when you get used to something and you hold on to it. You hold to it so bad. You cannot let it go. This is what happened to the tribe of Quraysh. Now, what they were accustomed to, what they were used to, was their business trips. So that's what it says. إِلَافِهِمْ رِحْلَةَ الشِّتَاءِ وَالصَّيْفِ. The fact that they were accustomed to, they had the habit of traveling. They would travel one trip in the winter, one trip in the summer. And the reason was because the tribe of Quraysh was very poor. If they stayed in Mecca, they would starve. In fact, there was a story, I don't know how true it is, but it says that it gets so bad that some fathers, when they see that their family is going to starve, they would take them outside, build a tent, and wait until they die. So one of the leaders came up with this idea, hey, we cannot keep dying like that. And don't think that today is different. You go to some places in Africa and other places, there are famines. And people up till today die from hunger. And don't think we don't have a surplus. We have a surplus of food. But it is a bad distribution of food. And the rich countries wanting to have everything for themselves. And fearing that if you give food or you distribute food too much, that prices would go low and they won't make enough money. Long story. At that time, it was the drive of hunger that led one of the leaders to say, hey, we gotta get out of Arabia. We gotta get out of Mecca and do those business transactions. We gotta go outside, make those trips to Yemen. So in the winter, because in the winter, you got to go south. So you go to Yemen, because Yemen is warmer than Mecca. In the summer, you go to like Syria and Palestine, that piece of land, because it is, is hotter. So, or it's a little cooler than Mecca. So they would make those two trips, one in the winter to Yemen, one in the summer to Syria and surrounding. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding the Quraysh of these two trips, because those trips in fact saved those people of Mecca. It saved them from hunger, it saved them from famine. And that became a habit. So year after year, now these people became accustomed, they became used to this deal, to these trips. And they were making enough money to be rich and to have enough food. Now, you might say, well, this is an old story. How does it relate to us? Well, this is a fact about the human being. Initially, when you get any new blessing, any new bounty, let's say you got a new phone. The first few days, when you have the phone, it's like this new toy, right? You love it. You see how lucky you are, especially if it's a new phone that no one else has, that no friend has, that no one in the school has. You're the only one who has it. So you're so happy, and you feel like you're so lucky. You feel like you're so special because you're the only one who's got this gift. But what happens a week later, or a month, or a few months? You get used to it. It's no longer special. You care no more. And it's not a big deal. Even if people tell you, look how lucky you are, you say, no, it's not a big deal. I'll tell you, it's just a phone. It's just like any other phone. That is the nature of the human being. So the problem is this ilaf. The problem is we get used to something, we get accustomed to it, and then we take it for granted. This is the main problem. One of the main problems why we're not thankful. You go to somebody and say, "Hi, how can you not be grateful? Look at all what you have." I mean, I'll tell you, anyone who lives in the West, in the United States, you are by far much luckier than the majority of the world. How about that? But we don't see it. Why? Because we're used to it. I mean, you probably have not seen people who might wait in line just to get water from a well. Like they don't have clean water, and you have to wait in line, sometimes for hours. Here you go to the grocery store, and if there's a short line, you start cussing. And you're so impatient. Oh, it's taking 5 minutes. Well, it takes some people 5 hours just to get some water. But the main problem, again, we get used to it. Li'ilafi. That is the problem. This ilaf, this being accustomed, being used to something, and we take it for granted. It's no longer a big deal. It's something we don't even consider. We don't even look at. Of course, I gotta have a fancy house. Of course, I gotta have a great car or a fast car, or whatever. So now the injunction, or you could say the command from Allah is, as a result, is to worship Him. How do we thank Allah? How do we thank God? Well, He told them, فَلْيَعْبُدُوا رَبَّ هَذَا الْبَيْتِ. So let them worship the Lord of this house. Meaning, which house? My house? Your house? Which house? The Kaaba. Very good. Because the Kaaba is the house of God. The house of Allah, right? Meaning the house He honors. So He said, let them worship the Lord of this house. And the reason is because the Arabs understood the value of that house. So if He told them, worship the Lord of this house, or everybody admires the house. Everybody loves the house. So they have a special attraction to it. Likewise, I mean, this happens to any Muslim the first time you visit Mecca. I mean, you've been praying toward that direction for maybe, 20, 30, 40 years. Some people don't visit until they're old. I mean, that's another, by the way, that's another great, great bounty. In the old days, it was so hard to travel. It was the wish of a person to make Hajj. And sometimes they keep saving money and saving money and saving money until they're like 60 or 70. And finally, they're able to make that trip. And a lot of them, by the way, a lot of them will bid farewell to their families because they cannot be sure they're going to be back. I mean, you could die. Even the travel to Mecca was not easy. I mean, there was all kinds of danger. You have to walk, you have to maybe ride something, ride an animal or whatever. Nowadays, we take it for granted. You see now small children making Umrah and Hajj almost every year. This was unheard of. It was unheard of in the old days. And I'm not going too far back. I mean, this is the generation of my grandparent, my grandfather. Everybody waited until they were old, like 50, 60, or 70 to make Hajj. And some of them did not come back. And nowadays, it's not a big deal. We go there, we take, selfies, around the Kaaba, we take these videos. And it's become much easier now. It's like you're just going down the hall, or it's not. I mean, it's still hard sometimes. I mean, the travel is hard, but it's much, much easier than before. So we take it for granted, and we can give many, many examples like that. But what I was saying is, the first time you lay your eyes on the Kaaba, after maybe 40 years of worship, you've always faced that direction. You've never seen the Kaaba except in pictures. The first time you lay your eyes, it's just a totally different feeling. Because we all have that connection to the house. And this is why Allah mentions that here. Because He knows we all have this connection. So He's appealing to that emotion. And then you see, the rest of the surah, again reminding us of basic facts, basic blessings, basic favors from Allah. الَّذِي أَطْعَمَهُم مِّن جُوعٍ وَآمَنَهُم مِّن خَوْفٍ. He said, He is the one who has fed them from hunger. And He has provided safety and security from fear. Now these are two basic bounties that we all take for granted. I mean, if you look around the world, the vast majority of people have enough food. And we don't think it's a big deal. The vast majority of people live peacefully. I mean, yes, there are some trouble spots around the world, but the vast majority of people, they enjoy peace. And this is why we forget about those two bounties until something happens and we see it on video, we see it on social media, we see how some people cannot enjoy peace, how they cannot guarantee that if they leave the house, they're going to be able to come back. This is then a reminder to us. Then we remember, we should not take this for granted. This is not available to everybody. Some people cannot enjoy this basic stuff that we take for granted. So this is something we have to remind ourselves on a regular basis. So this is one of the reasons why people are not thankful. You meet a lot of people around you, they're ungrateful. Like they can't recognize these bounties. And I tell you, if you're not able to recognize the bounties, these ni'am, we call them these blessings, there's no way you can thank Allah. Why would you thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? I'll tell you another big reason why people are not thankful. And this happens a lot. It happens amongst everybody. Young people, old people, middle-life people. It happens among rich, poor, everybody. And this is when we start comparing ourselves to other people. And I know all of us do it. And we should stop. It will spoil your life if you keep comparing yourself to other people. Again, that's the reason. You go to some people and ask, why aren't you grateful? Look at you. Look, mashallah, you have good children, you have a good family, you have a good job. And they'll tell you, but look at this person and this person. Look what they have. I have a house in Chandler, they have a house in whatever, Scottsdale. I have a car, it's great, it runs great, but look, he has a Lamborghini. Or I don't know, what is the best car?
Ferrari.
Bugatti? No. Bugatti is better than Ferrari, come on. Ferraris are only $100,000, right? The cheap ones, exactly. This is like basic stuff. No add-ons, right? But truly, I mean, it's all about what you look at, what you compare yourself to. And you're always going to find somebody who you think is luckier than you. This is why this is the worst mistake that we all do, and we do on a regular basis. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually told us about this in the Quran at least a couple times. This comparison, this problem of comparison, that we compare ourselves to others. You go to school, and you're so happy, but then you see your friend bring this really nice shoes, this tennis shoes, that you cannot afford to buy. And now your whole day is miserable. Why was I born in this family? Why can't my father be richer and be able to afford me this, great pair of shoes? It never ends. You look at your friend and they got dropped. And now it depends. I mean, you don't drive, but you watch the parents and how, the kids, care how they're dropped, who's dropping them. I mean, after a while, they want to drop themselves. They don't want to be seen with their parents, which is even worse. But before that time, his father, his mother, her father is driving a Lexus. But we just have a good old Honda Accord or something. It was actually one of the best cars at one time, but it's not considered a luxurious car. So people start looking at that and they start comparing. Kids are comparing against each other like that. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us in the Quran, a different place, He said, وَلَا تَمُدَّنَّ عَيْنَيْكَ إِلَى مَا مَتَّعْنَا بِهِ أَزْوَاجًا مِّنْهُمْ زَهْرَةَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. A direct command. It says, do not, and look at the wording here. It says, do not extend your eyes. It's like that, right? That's when you extend your eyes. So you're not just looking you're not looking, sideways. You're looking like this. You're staring. You're extending your eyes like you're staring. Now, no one should underestimate the power of the eye. Because the eye defines the target. If the eye helps you focus on something. It's all in the eye. So don't say, it's not a big deal, I'm just looking somewhere. No. When you look at something, you are looking at it. You mean it. It becomes your target. And if you cannot accomplish that target, it becomes a source of envy. So this is why, in fact, God is forbidding the Prophet, and of course all of us, from doing this. He said, do not extend your eyes to what we have given others. إِلَى مَا مَتَّعْنَا بِهِ أَزْوَاجًا مِّنْهُمْ. What we have given other people. And he said, this is Zahrat al-Hayat al-Dunya. It's like the appeal of this world. It's all appearances. It's all appearances. You know what happens? Because when you do this, you have no idea what these people are going through. You think they're lucky, right? Because it appears that they have this fancy car or this fancy house. You have no idea what problems they have. And I tell you, everybody has a problem. So yes, maybe you're not lucky in this regard, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed you in so many other regards. Yes, these people might have a nice car, but maybe they have a miserable life. Maybe they have a miserable family. Maybe the father doesn't care. Maybe there are fights every day in the house. We don't know. I mean, we don't live with them. And I'm not saying everybody is like that. I'm saying we only get to see the good side of others. And that's why we are jealous. But everybody got problems. As we say, the grass is always greener on the other side. But it's not, by the way. It is not. And it's not fair because we're always comparing the best of others to the worst of us, right? Like we are so focused on the bad stuff in our lives, and we're looking at the best stuff in someone else's life. So it's not a fair comparison to begin with. It is not a fair comparison. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ told us in a hadith, he said, "Unzuru ila man huwa dunakum." Look at the people below you. وَلَا تَنْظُرُوا إِلَى مَنْ هُوَ فَوْقَكُمْ. And do not look at the people above you. فَإِنَّهُ أَجْدَرُ أَلَّا تَزْدَرُوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ. Because this will stop you from belittling the bounties of God upon you. So I'll pause and reflect on this hadith a little bit, because I think this is an important rule. It's an important principle. So you see here from the Prophet, there's a command. He's telling us, do not, stop looking at the people above you. Who are the people above us? This is not talking about a hierarchy. It's not talking about people better than us. Here it means the people we consider who are fortunate more than us. So he said, do not look at the people above you. The people who you think are more fortunate. As we call them today, the rich and famous. What do? This is exactly what we do. We keep looking at the rich and famous. We follow the rich and famous. We track their lives. We know exactly what they eat, what they dress, what they drive. We're doing the opposite of what the Prophet told us. And what happens in the process, because we're always looking at these people, these super rich, super successful people, and then we look at ourselves and we become miserable. We become depressed. Oh, there's no way I can be like this person. Look how they live. Look what kind of life they have. Look what kind of car they drive. What kind of house, not house, houses, mansions. And look, I have a small little apartment. This little hut that I have. We live in a dungeon. We live in a small little place, in a bad neighborhood, in a crappy place. So the Prophet told us, do not do that to yourselves. Do not look at the people above you. Look at the people below you. And I'll tell you, like I said before, the people below you are far more. You think you're not lucky? You're maybe not on the very top of the pyramid, but you're very close to the top. The fact that you live here. Look at the vast majority of the world. Some people live in tents. some people, I've seen it myself. In some people, you have refugees. You have like 50 people living in the same apartment. Multiple families, 5 families living in the same apartment. At least you have some privacy. At least you have your own room. I mean, having your own room, that's a huge deal. I'm not kidding. If you have your own room in your house, that's a big deal. A lot of people do not have this luxury. And they're grown-ups. And they do not have the privacy. They do not have this bounty of having privacy. So he said, look at the people below you. The people who are not as fortunate. I mean, you don't have to go too far. You don't have to go to a different country. I mean, look how many homeless we have in every city. And we're a rich nation. You see people eating from garbage. So don't complain about your sandwich. But, I mean, it's better than eating garbage or eating something that someone else ate. So he said, look below you. Look at the people who are not as lucky. And the reason is because this is going to stop you from belittling the bounties of Allah upon you. You're going to stop doing what we all do, which is not a big deal. Like, you have everything and it's not a big deal. It's not enough. And you keep complaining. Why aren't you grateful? You ask some people, why aren't you grateful? And he said, why should I be grateful? Look what other people have. And look what I have. Why should I be grateful? That's what they say. I mean, we have no time to even count how many bounties we have. And that's something that the Quran repeated a few times. If you try and count, and this is a good exercise for all of us, if you try and count the bounties of God, you're not going to be able to do that. No way. You can do that tonight. In fact, it's a good exercise to do. Like, start thinking of the basic stuff we have. And everybody's got certain bounties that no one else has. You might have a certain talent, a certain skill, a certain thing in life, something special in your life that no one else has. I mean, think about all the crippled people, even young people with cancer, people who can't walk, on wheelchairs. I mean, we have all kinds of stuff around us. And then you start thinking, wow, at least, I can walk, I can speak. Some people can't speak properly. I mean, they stutter, they can't speak. I mean, everything we have. And by the way, it is the basic bounties that we take for granted, and we have them for free.
Is it there for instance, if you start counting like the bounties, you won't be able to finish them until the day of judgment?
It didn't say the day of judgment. It said you won't be able to count them. But it didn't mention the day of judgment. Yes, but it is, mentioned in the Quran twice. Again, I lost my track of thoughts.
You were just finished talking about bounties.
Well, that's too generic.
Counting bounties was the last thing you mentioned.
Yes, it's a good exercise to do that. And I advise all of us to do that if you can do it on a daily basis. I was going to say, we always look for those fancy stuff, right? Which costs a lot of money. But you realize that the most precious bounties are the ones we get for free. You name any bounty that is really important, and we got it for free. Well, of course, any act of worship you do, but also the basic ones. I mean, the fact you can eat, you don't have to pay for that. You can breathe. No one charges you for the air you breathe, but it's so essential. You cannot live without it. But people are so focused on these bounties that are so expensive, and they're not important. They're not essential for our life. They're superfluous, like they're extra. You don't need them. But the basic ones, you get for free. And they're the most precious. They are the most essential in your life. So So just keep that in mind as well. It will help you be grateful. So inshallah, to summarize, this verse or this surah is all about being grateful. Remember that. When you read Surat Qureish from now on, it's all about being grateful. And the Quran is reminding not just the tribe of Quraysh, it's reminding all of us about a certain fact, which is that we get used to the bounties we have. And that stops us from being grateful. So we should remind ourselves all the time that even if something is available to me and has been available to me all my life, I should still be thankful. I should not take it for granted. So the surah is telling us, don't take bounties for granted. Don't take blessings for granted. Even if you had something for 50 years, I've been seeing with my eyes for 50 years, I'm still grateful for my eyes. Right? I still can walk. I'm grateful. The fact I can walk, even though I've used my legs all my life. So that's what the surah is talking about. And then it again reminds us at the end, two basic bounties, food and safety. Like having enough to eat and having peace around you. Having peace around you. And another thing that will help us be grateful is do not compare yourself to others. Compare yourself to yourself. That's how you improve. Like we always say, compare yourself today to how you were yesterday, not to how someone else is today. Because that's how you can improve. You could say, well, yesterday I was like this, and today I'm trying to improve, and I can be better today. So now you compare yourself to something you could measure, something you can relate to. But you compare yourself to someone else, you have no idea. They might be having problems. You don't want those problems, believe me. So don't compare yourself to others. Compare yourself to yourself. And that's how you can be grateful. And finally, think of the bounties you have and try and count them. It doesn't mean like 1, 2, 3 necessarily, but think of them. Try and list them in your mind. Think of them. And once you start thinking of them, you're going to think of more and more. You're going to discover some blessings you had that you never thought about. But you got to start somewhere. So inshallah, with those things, it'll keep us happy because now we're so busy counting what we have no time looking at others and what they have. Now it will make you super happy. And it will make you grateful, which is something we need to be. One of the meanings of Islam is to be thankful. And on the Day of Judgment, there's a hadith that says that the Prophet will be carrying the banner of thankfulness. Now we all want to be with the Prophet. We claim we're on the Sunnah, but how can we be if you're not thankful? How can you be behind someone who's carrying the banner of thanks and you're not thankful? So let's keep that in mind. And with that, I was going to say, where was I? But I'm closing, so that's easy enough. With that, we're done with this segment. And inshallah, we'll start the Q&A and then the quiz. Any questions or comments? Yes?
I would just add one thing, like live your life, not others.
Absolutely, yes. Live your life, not someone else's life. It's pretty good. I think I'm going to go ahead and